Welcome to Chapter 1, Making Friends and Facing Foes. The theme for this chapter is really social relationships, communication, and how do kids build and maintain those relationships throughout the middle school years. I start the chapter with a section for you, the parents, really trying to navigate that realm of uncertainty as to when is the ideal time, if any, to strike up a conversation with your child. It seems as though as kids get busier or they become more involved with their friends, there becomes less time for the parent and child relationship and that conversation to develop. So we look at some of the ideal places and times to really strike up the conversation and how to keep that going. So that is the entry into the chapter. And then we really move into how are kids developing relationships with their peers. What are some of the positives and negatives? What are some of the things that start to happen and develop during the middle school years with respect to social relationships? So we look at things like cliques and the members only seems like social club that kids start to develop as they start to meet new people and really build those social circles. And then also issues of bullying. So kids really being treated in a disrespectful, hurtful way that may have cropped up during the elementary school years, but is certainly in place now that they're in the middle school. So we look at those two things before moving on to some real serious issues: drugs, alcohol, and depression, all of which are finding their way now into the middle schools. So it's difficult as a parent, I think, to think about your child having to deal with any of those issues, cliques and bullying included, but certainly the drugs, alcohol, and depression. But something that you would want to be aware of. I think everybody would agree to that. So as I look at some of those different issues, I'll give you some of the warning signs, things that you want to be on the lookout for, and not to say that when you see one of the signs that you've listed that that's cause for alarm. I think really what I'm talking about in this chapter is when you see repeated warning signs and they occur over a consistent amount of time, then you really need to start looking at that, having a conversation with your child, talking with his teachers, coaches, mentors, trying to get a fuller perspective, a full picture of really what your child is dealing with respect to the challenges in his or her life. So that is chapter 1. Looking at the relationships that your child is building, trying to really get you included into that picture so that you don't feel like you're left out on the sidelines. And that's one of the big challenges that I think parents face is you've been so involved in your child's life up to this point. What is your role now? And so we start to talk about that, and chapter 1 really builds the foundation for a much larger discussion as we move into the coming chapters of the book. A couple things that I want to share with you about this chapter that you will see kind of follow through the remaining chapters of the book. The first of which is action steps. So you read different sections of the text, but at the bottom of this page of the online course, you'll see that there's a section entitled Action Steps. And that really is a prompt for you to take what you've read, think about your child and mesh the two, and then start to take action on some of the ideas that you've read. So I'm excited about sharing that section with you. The next is click and connect. So there's two options there. Number one, you can send me an email with your questions or concerns, and we can start to dialogue about what some of the things are and really make that personal for you and your child. The second is that there's a huge community of folks just like you who have questions and challenges. So I'm going to include a section in the Click and Connect where you can actually interact with different parents, look at some of the questions, look at some of the replies to those questions from parents just like you. So it's going to be a nice repository of information that I'm hoping is going to build and grow over the coming years. So those are the two sections that I really wanted to clue you in on. The last idea, the last kind of perk, I think, as part of the online course is that you can download everything in an audio version. So there is a link at the very bottom of the page that says download all of this in an audio version, which you can listen to on your computer, burn it to a CD, transfer it to an iPod or MP3 player. But essentially what you get there is all of the text that you see on the page, which I'll be reading, and also some commentary. So a little bit of play-by-play, a little bit of insight that you won't get simply by reading the book. So I would highly encourage you, download the audio version. That's it for chapter 1. I hope you enjoy the reading. Please feel free, of course, to send me the email and interact with some of the folks that you see online. Take care.